Life as a travel industry leader, how tough is it now? Hey everybody, thank you so much for taking 5 with us today. I'm Glenn Hausman. That's Sean Worker. Sean, I want to jump right into it today. There's a lot to discuss. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, there's a lot of things happening right now. So many unintended consequences coming out of this COVID crisis. I didn't expect all of these problems that leaders are facing to actually have happened. I never would have thought of it. How do you see it?
This is a game-changing event for anybody who's a manager, a supervisor, all the way up to the C-suite and even the boardroom, in how we all have to adapt and, in many cases, upgrade our skills to such an extent to just simply get the message out there. And this is stressful for many.
That's absolutely right, because all of these CEOs and the executives that are in a decision-making position were spending all of their time and focus trying to figure out a way to keep those hotels open, for example, to keep their businesses functioning during this time. Now, all of a sudden, things are coming back. People are rushing to enjoy products and services that these companies have, but you can't find enough labor out there, and it's causing to leadership exhaustion and all sorts of other problems.
Right. Let's kind of set the table here. All pun intended. So we did a show on events. So now there's all this labor in the marketplace that is needed now.
That's right.
So we need all of the labor. And inevitably what we're now thinking about is the same people that worked for us are going to come back. Wrong. Hit the stop button.
That's right.
This has fundamentally allowed a certain level of labor, and I mean at each echelon, to question their lifestyle, what's important, being at the game, picking up your children from childcare, and working 2 jobs and never seeing each other. Yeah. And so that's permeating, and that is the competition that TTH is now facing. Some of the most experienced customer service people have been hired by Amazon and other types of alternative workplaces, and they offer benefits, childcare, 401k. They offer a pathway to education and promotion.
Right.
We've got to wake up.
Right. The interesting thing, Sean, that I'm seeing out there is that a lot of the leaders are experiencing the same thing. They're rethinking their priorities. They're reshuffling their lifestyles, but there's a disconnect between how they see themselves and what they want out of life, and not understanding that people that are working at all of their properties, all of their businesses, are feeling exactly the same way. And I think that creates that leadership disconnect that we have to be concerned about.
Right. And so there's 2 things. One is you've got a stressed leader, and it's not apparently very cool to admit that you're stressed, because you have to be calm under fire.
Right.
Sharing why you're stressed and what's stressing the organization and bringing your community in is an expectation. And we spoke about on a different show about communication and utilizing the tools that people are now used to for short burst, frequent communications to understand where we are at this point in time. The second thing is there is this demand that has evolved. Some of it about sustainability, some of it is about what does your company stand for. But the messaging about what does my company stand for outside of the product is moving up the communication level for those that are saying, why should I go work at that company? Why should I work at Marriott versus a smaller boutique firm?
Right.
Yeah, in the old days, that would be the place I would go break my teeth and learn. But a smaller boutique firm is offering me healthcare. It's offering 401k. It's offering a better pay. It's offering childcare on site. That's a big added benefit. And guess what? It's also 10 minutes closer to my house.
Right.
That's what we're competing with. And the owners of businesses and those that are involved in shaping the agenda have got to take on this as an imperative as opposed to a peripheral.
That's right. It is dire out there, and this crisis is going to spur some people to taking major actions, just like you're saying, and they're the ones that are going to win out. I think, Sean, that there's a little bit too much of a myopic point of view when it comes to how much you're going to pay people, the benefits that you put in there, to look at it as strictly a dollar and cents sort of issue, as opposed to look at the entire issue of, will you be able to retain these people? Will these employees be great workers and engage with your customers out there? And finally, you won't have to spend all of that money to replace them, which could be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for each individual. Why not just take some of that money, pay them a little bit more, create some of these elements that you're saying, such as in-site childcare, in order to really bring that leadership closer to what your employees and staff are looking for?
You know, regardless of what geography you're in the US, as an example, Chipotle really gets it. They understand the pulse of acquiring smart people.
Mm-hmm.
They have put in, and again, they're saying whoever they hire is going to have a pension, which is a 401k to those that are outside of the US and in Europe. The childcare, a pathway to education. They've communicated that 2 years to being a general manager of a store, assuming that you get some level of higher education, which they're willing to pay for, and possible stock options. So they've checked all the boxes. TTH,
right?
Be it, I don't care if you're an airline, and I don't care if you're a hotel. The restaurant sector seems to be further ahead. As we looked at ghost kitchens and adaptation in previous shows, we've got to learn from this in hotels and other similar businesses, or else we're going to have inferior labor to relative terms to other categories.
Right.
And that's not hotels.
I agree
right?
with you. Tell me if you agree with this assessment. We're in a situation right now where there's a negative feedback loop going on, at least in terms of the ownership and management that I'm seeing in TTH, where they're still complaining about the situation. They're saying employees are too lazy. They're getting paid too much to sit on the sideline. That doesn't address the issue. That just allows you to feel better about yourself as to why you're not being successful right now. It's imperative and incumbent on all folks out there to get out of that mindset and start thinking about how to adapt in the fundamental ways in order to start winning the hearts and minds of staff again and getting them to be loyal to you as opposed to another company.
This wraps up into a larger issue and a larger metaphor. When you think about what drives a organization, one is it's competition in labor. That's a good thing. Get the best people. How do you get the best people? Well, your managers, people leave managers, not companies. So your managers are now stressed because they may have a hybrid workforce. If you take a hotel, and we'll stick with hotels as the example, your account management group, possibly your yield management group, your sales group could probably, and most likely, and I hope they are, working from home and working remotely. Far more efficient. So the manager that used to like to see all of his or her people at the morning stand-up has now got a different problem. You got to actually adapt and change as a manager to be able to communicate with those working from home part-time, working exclusively on the location. This is a stretch for managers. So we're now coming out of a very stressful period to survive. Now we have to go and thrive with a completely different skill set and find that energy within. 56% of women between the ages of 18 and 69 in a recent survey from Meredith Corporation said, guess what? They don't want to go back to the office. Right. 3% said that they hated being at home and similarly go back. As a white collar profile, 55% of 1,500 marketers said they're not willing to travel by air or for business or for personal reasons, yet 70% said broad vaccination and distribution might get them back and be comfortable. So this is these myriad of problems that are human resource issues, management issues, have got to be addressed in a way that is about learning. And there's some choices.
Right.
We'll get to the short takes in a moment. That I'm sure of.
Yeah, I was just about to segue into those short takes because this is really the time for the takeaways. What can people do that are trapped in this cycle of negativity in order to loosen things up a little bit, create some positivity, get people engaged, and create a work environment that meets the needs of today?
The strength of yourself and your mindfulness and you're finding your own place. You get a coach for when you're playing a sport, get a coach for being a boss, being a supervisor, being a leader, being someone who's engaged in the community. Move from boss to engaged communicator and engaged community-oriented leader. Go and get a business coach, just like you do a coach for how you play racquetball. That's one. Two, being a manager has fundamentally changed from work from home, work from work, hybrids of those. there's going to be possibly some resentment from those that can work from home, for those that are doing it all on site. You've got to learn the skill to be able to balance that and find a way for those groups, but equally extend that out to your clients, your suppliers, your investors, your board. Everything's changed. How you communicate as a leader, be it a department head or the CEO, has changed. So go get some coaching on this. Go get some help on this. Certainly we do this individually, Glenn, as well. And then know yourself, know thyself, and know your team. You've got to have the pulse of it. You see all the sports analogies, but this is business. You've putting the effort into digital storytelling. We talked about event casting on a different show, keeping everybody informed as to what we truly are dealing with. It's a hiring problem, or we didn't start the event the way that we thought we were going to, but equally asking yourself, are you a task-oriented manager or are you a time-oriented manager? Set a time. If a reporter is meant to be in every Monday at 2 o'clock from, let's say it's a cash flow forecast from accounting, don't be micromanaging people. It's 2 o'clock on Monday, and deal with the freedom, and the freedom goes away if you don't deliver regularly at 2 p.m. But nonetheless, have faith in your team. Think about OKRs, using these KPIs, key performance and objectives and key results. You got to change the metrics. And then finally, the workplace is a community, and there's a ton of opportunities, but are they trend or are they fad? Only you can decide.
Ah, right. And we'll be getting into more fads versus trends in future episodes of The Adapters, because that's an essential thing to really understand. What do you need to worry about just for today, and how do you need to plan for tomorrow? That's why you need to check out theadapters.net out there for not just short form videos, but long, in-depth interview videos with some of the brightest minds in travel, tourism, and hospitality. Don't forget to pick up the book at Amazon.com, online booksellers, and bricks and mortar stores that you love to shop at. Thanks so much for watching The Adapters today. I'm Glenn Hausman. That, of course, is Sean Worker. See you next time.